My wonderful little baby daughter, Amy, thinks it's probably a little too late for a LinkedIn profile for me. However, she has suggested that I say a few words about my Parkinson's journey so far, which all happened really in lockdown in 2020. I used to go walking every day, 3 mile walk door to door, and I noticed my gait had changed or was changing over time. And it became very noticeable to me. I didn't know what was happening. But then when lockdown happened and I got the shake in the thumb and a couple of fingers, and I have sons-in-law who are medics, and they advised me to get it looked at by my GP consultant who organised the brain scan. And then he was delighted to ring me some evening to tell me there was nothing on the brain scan. There was a brain, in fact, but there was very little damage, so I was in the clear. Except I wasn't. And he organised a DAT scan, which enabled him to give a diagnosis. That was in November 21. And the only thing I latched onto with him was his suggestion that the best thing for me is exercise and try to live a healthy lifestyle. And that's about the size of it. I decided I had to become a professional athlete a bit late in life. So I tried to do something every day, whether it be floor exercises, Tai Chi, stretching, swimming, something anyway, every day to try and kick this thing down the road a little bit. And when you get the diagnosis, they're anxious to tell you that it's not going to kill you, but it's still not very pleasant. And a lot of your journey is going to be dependent on your state of mind. And that's very true. You're going to have good days and bad days. And between the medication and the tiredness and the exercise, it's full on. Something that perhaps they don't talk about much. But I would suggest anyone who gets a serious diagnosis must go through the same thing. Is you're going to go through a grieving process. I certainly did, for my good health, which I enjoyed for many years. And it's like losing a member of the family, really. And I definitely remember being in denial, being depressed, being angry, and then resigning oneself and saying, well, fuck it, that's it. Get on with it. So that's where we're at now. I'm not saying I'll always be able to keep the spirit up, but I'll certainly try. Yeah. I find it vital to try and keep a positive outlook. Life is great. So I do day by day. Some days are good, some days are bad. I try to enjoy the good ones. Yeah, I get up every morning early. I like early. I don't have a choice because I wake up. And I try and do the exercise early, have the swim early. Some people are repelled by the idea, other people are fascinated, but it works for me. I go with 2 buddies, and 8:30 every morning we'd be down there jumping in and jumping out fairly quickly as well, it has to be said. Lockdown was brilliant because it was the first time Marion, my wife, and I had ever had that kind of time to do what we wanted to do. And she started painting, and I went into the office every day like I would anyway, except I did music. I also was coming to the end of my working career, and we had decided anyway, we had a retail fashion chain of 3 shops, and it was time for me to get out anyway, so this just accelerated the process. And we did that. I was always into the music and art, and I always loved painting. However, if you gave me a blank canvas, I'd look at it for 3 weeks and could never think of anything to put on it. However, I discovered, noodling around on a guitar one day, that if you give me a guitar or some kind of stringed instrument, I'll have no problem thinking of something to put on it. And that's how this whole thing started. I wanted to thank some musicians because their music made a big difference to me. One was Paul Brady. I'm a huge fan. I painted a guitar for him and gave it to him. Thank you again for the island. Wonderful. Damien Dempsey, the same. I love his music. I gave him a guitar. For therapy, I do the painting on the guitars. And I can get completely lost in the guitar because I do basically layer upon layer as the ideas come to me, and as I want lyrics in it. I like typography, I want pictures, I want color. And I can just get lost in it for hours upon hours. And the music's the same. You can just get lost for forever in trying to do a song, come up with a song, cover a song, play the piano. I think certainly the medication maybe adds to the compulsion I feel, because that's the word I'd use. I feel compelled to make music and do art. I don't know why, but that's the way it is, and I'm happy to go with that. It's good for what ails me. It's good for the mind. The mind, definitely the state of mind, one's state of mind, my state of mind, I would estimate is 70% of the deal here. I have to keep my mind, my frame of mind, my balance, my mental balance good, in a good place. I had an exhibition of guitars in Clonakilty in 2023. The idea was I would sell them and the funds would go to the Michael J. Fox Foundation. I was at my niece's wedding in the UK, and her new husband's uncle was chatting to me about the school he was at, and I was at, and Sting was at, in Newcastle upon Tyne in England. And I said, I'm doing a guitar with Sting on it at the minute, and he's coming to Cork in June, and I'd love to get him to sign it. And this nice gentleman called Joe said, leave that with me. And lo and behold, about 3 days later, didn't I get an email from Sting himself, the main man, who was an absolute gent the whole way and organised for me to come to his gig. And he signed the guitars, and we had a nice old chat about Tiny McGough. Any of you out there remember Tiny McGough? And that was a huge boost, him to do that. And he's an absolute gent, and I'm very indebted to him for doing that. So some of you of a certain age may remember a very famous film from the 80s, Back to the Future, with the wonderful Michael J. Fox in it. And in it, he played this shape guitar, which is a Gibson 335. And he played it very well. And I wanted to do a guitar showing that. I did this guitar, and my idea was, if I could get it signed by as many artists as possible, I feel it might fetch a good few bob for Parkinson's research again. Something a little different, a resonator guitar, which was given to me for the cause by the very generous Mr. Roger Hubbard, who's up there in the top right. I enjoy doing that one as well. Something different again, a self-portrait. I wanted something for my children to fight over, and I decided I'd make it a Geordie boy guitar. So Sting has very kindly signed it, and I want to get a few more people to sign it, and they can all fight about it then. And it also has, for all you Geordie boys, the blade and races is going around the sound hole. My niece then asked me to do a guitar for a fundraiser they were having for ovarian cancer research. And I did a guitar with a local boy called Sam Fender on it, and she managed to get him to sign it and play it. And they were able to auction that in the UK at a charity function for, I think, 5,000 sterling. So this is a guitar I'm working on at the minute. It's my Beatles guitar, the Beatles provided at least 70% of my life's soundtrack. I love their music. I love doing this guitar. My focus for this was the rooftop concert from 1969, which was the last time they played together. And interspersed with that, I've got lots of other stuff from the 60s. I've got color and I like type. And wouldn't it be wonderful if I could get this signed by any remaining Beatles? And it's been a lovely experience for me to do it. I've really enjoyed it. And I've about 20 more layers to do. And my granddaughter provided the base color for the front. And she's also done the back. Thank you, Evie. Great job, girl. If I can get some of these guitars signed, we will auction them at some point in the year at an event, and hopefully raise a bunch of money for research. Because Parkinson's apparently is the Cinderella disease, it's over 40 different symptoms, and not everyone has the same experience, but I guess we all end up fairly similar.